This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show, and it's an important show in regards to this article that's out there about scientists and how close they are to achieving synthetic biological intelligence. Now, we all hear terms like that, and it goes in one ear, out the other, right? We go, oh, what? Synthetic bio, right? Sounds like a snooze fest. But actually, as you read this, you'll realize what they're talking about by watching this video is really already happening. They talk about a group of researchers who are growing brain cells on silicon chips and then taught them to perform tasks. And they talk about the future being biological, synthetic biological beings, in a sense. So you should share this video with people because it's important, because you'll be able to piece together how this is already happening with a certain something that's going on inside of people's bodies. Now, before I start the video, I want to let everyone know I do have a Patreon page. If anyone out there wants to support the channel, it's obviously been a struggle here on YouTube. It's not a requirement, obviously, but it's something that would really help the channel. I thank those who already have. I appreciate it. Other ways you can help this channel out, of course, is just by subscribing to my other channels linked below. This channel probably won't be around for much longer. This is the common theme with my channel. So please just pause the video, especially if you're new here and you don't know what's happened to my channels over the years. I don't need to get into it, but just please make sure you subscribe, take my word, and you can ask others in the comment section about how many I've gone through. So you'll want to subscribe so you won't want to miss out on content. And of course, most people think that I'm gone, and it's because of what they've continued to do. So make sure we fight against them by subscribing to the new channels and continuing to do our best to get the truth out. And I say us, that means all of us together, because we're all working together to fight against this new world hell that's coming. So the scientists I should say, are frighteningly close to achieving synthetic biological intelligence. Okay, this is the merging of AI and synthetic biology. So short term, let me just explain that, because people hear that and they're like, what is it? Or transhumanism, right? They're like, what is that? It's just the merging of human beings, you, the listener, and technology, right? You might say, well, that's kind of crazy and impossible. They've been indoctrinating you and preparing you for this for quite some time. From the cell phone to the iWatch to putting technology on your skin to the iFit to letting technology track your every move. This is about getting tech inside of your body. And they talk about how researchers have already grown brain cells on silicon chips and then taught them how to perform tasks. Watch this video I'm going to play for you. Okay? It's frightening. It's a frightening future. But all of you who have been subscribed to my channels will start to, obviously you already understand, but you'll see this video and how I'm putting this together for you so you can understand what's going on with a certain black goo and how they actually have the ability to take humans and merge them with artificial intelligence. And in the clip I'll show you first, you might say, wow, that would be a scary future. But guess what? It's already happening. It's already happening. All the things mentioned in there are already occurring because of something that already happened. Take a look.
What happens when humans begin combining biology with technology?
It is the power to recode life itself.
We will see human organ farms, governments using artificial wombs to rebuild populations, robots with biological parts. There will be genetically altered humans who are able to heal people through touch, and so much more. This is the world of biotechnology. But what happens to our environment when humans begin to engineer life and they become an invasive species? And what is going on underground in the labs of biohackers hidden from regulations? And if human bodies are bioengineered, would we evolve into a new species of life altogether, becoming less human and more alien? Humanity will no longer be observers of nature, but the masters of it. This is the next phase in humanity's evolution, and it begins with bioprinting. Bioprinting is 3D or even 4D printing, but instead of plastic or metal, it uses living cells called bioinks. These cells are printed layer by layer and can grow and connect with each other, creating biological structures. With bioprinting, we're not just creating objects, we're breathing life into them. Bioprinting is the alchemist's dream come to life. Some basic level uses include bioprinted eyeball corneas, bioprinted hair follicles for hair loss, personal cosmetic testing, and combat wound healing. And traveling further into the future, more advanced bioprinting will achieve 3D printed coral reefs that provide habitats for marine life, helping to restore damaged ecosystems. or small-scale robotic space stations that are bioprinting factories, since printing with liquids is more effective when done in a microgravity environment. When it comes to the human body, bioprinted organs are manufactured in organ farms to overcome the challenges of donation shortages. Or a patient's own cells are used to create miniaturized organs or organoids that are used to test medical responses before actual administration. And bioprinted prosthetic limbs are designed to fit perfectly to the individual, using living tissue to improve integration with the host's body. Experiments are carried out in the field of cybernetics, where electronics are implanted into bioprinted pieces, creating cybernetic organs that are more advanced than natural ones, such as bioprinted lungs that are implanted with sensors and nanofilters that remove toxins from the air before it enters the bloodstream, or replacement bionic eyeballs that have built-in zoom or infrared vision. Patients of these experimental bionic eyeballs begin to claim they are having paranormal visions. After losing his sight in an accident, a former archaeologist receives a bionic cornea transplant. With his restored vision, he starts having visions, hallucinations, claiming to see the past and believing he has unearthed hidden secrets that could rewrite history. On the other side of the world, an unknown flesh-eating disease is wiping out regions of a country. A group of scientists use bioprinting to create a new type of skin that can survive the disease. Some people praise the scientists' efforts, while others question whether these people with a different type of skin are still part of the human race. Coming back to more basic biotechnology, there is the world of living architecture, where buildings are constructed with bioengineered materials that can self-repair, clean the air, absorb pollutants, and even reproduce. These buildings are also built using gecko-inspired adhesives and coral reef-inspired eco-concrete. Some of these New Age buildings are even powered by biological batteries that use components such as bacteria to store and generate energy. But there are complaints of forced obsolescence, where companies are manipulating their biomaterials to deteriorate after a set period of time, forcing customers to continuously purchase replacements. High up in these bio-buildings, inside luxury apartments, walls are decorated with pieces of bio-art. Artists use living tissue and bioprinters to fabricate living and evolving works of art. These city bio-apartments that are near the ocean are protected from rising sea levels and storm surges by living seawalls. Genetically engineered corals and mussels are used to create living seawalls that grow and self-repair, protecting these coastal cities. And then there are bioluminescent lights, plants, bacteria, and algae that are engineered to glow in the dark, just like deep-sea creatures, replacing electric streetlights. But in a small town where bioluminescent lamps light the streets and purify the air, a sudden decay of the bioluminescent organisms causes darkness to fall. It is up to botanists and engineers to figure out what is killing the neon bloom and restore light to the town. Conspiracies spread that the lights have been biohacked and reprogrammed to release harmful pollutants. Elsewhere, a robotics company has built a robot with a bioluminescent skin that glows. The company tests using the robot in a museum, guiding people around the exhibitions. People question if human skin is next. Underground, biohackers are already a step ahead and are experimenting on their own bodies. Cyberpunks and biohackers work underground, hidden from government regulations. They experiment with implanting microchips into their arms and tattooing themselves with digital inks that display and shows off their online wear. They hack together and build biocomputers made from biomaterials and living neural tissue. Cyberpunkers hack and tune brain chips, disabling safety features for more extreme and unauthorized neural experiences. And they use their own DNA as storage devices, mimicking nature, able to store massive amounts of data. Under the city streets, there is a black market of New Age substances. Biohackers engineer grapes that ferment into wine within minutes. And they create unregulated food that are resistant to pests and disease and are allergy-free. The biggest buzz is around self-replenishing food containers. These containers are made of living organisms that constantly regenerate their contents, effectively providing a never-ending supply of microfoods. These biohackers also mess around trying to freeze each other, hoping to bring the bodies back to life. People call them cryonic punks. And they have pets, with edited genes to produce bioluminescence, making them glow in the dark. And there are rumors of chimeras, animals created with genes from multiple species. The name chimera comes from Greek mythology, a fire-breathing creature with the body of a lion, the head of a goat arising from its back, and the tail of a snake. Out in the real world, corporations are making older bionic prosthetic models obsolete, forcing users to upgrade, raising the question, who owns the limbs, the people, or the corporations? These bioprinted prosthetic limbs fully integrate with the body's nervous system, providing a sense of touch and more natural control. Militaries have voluntary amputations. Governments use bionic limbs to create super soldiers. A young boy, paralyzed in an accident, learns to walk again with the help of a bioexoskeleton. Every bionic prosthetic and bioexoskeleton comes with a registration tracking number. In government-controlled labs, scientists are testing advanced artificial womb technology. This includes pod devices designed for more reliable external pregnancy and gestation, a process known as ectogenesis. In a world plagued by infertility, artificial wombs have become humanity's hope. Wealthy individuals outsource childbirth to large womb farms. Governments facing population collapse have their own farms too. And conspiracies circulate of a dictator obsessed with his legacy, using artificial wombs to create numerous offspring, aiming to rule eternally and become an immortal dictator. Other fields that use artificial womb technology include space colonization, military use, and endangered species revival. And there are experiments being carried out in the field of extended gestation, where a body is left in the artificial womb for a longer period of time to enhance natural cognitive and physical capabilities. The next multi-trillion-dollar industry is in bio-hybrid robots. These are robots that are made with biological tissue, providing more flexibility and energy efficiency. One corporation is developing biomimetic robots that can blend in and camouflage with nature and even interact with animals. The corporation says that these biorobots are for environmental monitoring or biological research. But there is a concern that they will unintentionally become an invasive species, disrupting ecosystems, leading to the extinction of native animals. While others worry that the biohybrid robots can be used for espionage and spying, such as drones or robots that mimic a bird so well that another bird is not able to tell that it's a machine. These types of robots can be used to breach sovereignty, where governments deploy invasive biohybrid animals to infiltrate and undermine the autonomy of other nations, while advanced biohybrid robots become capable of rapidly producing harmful bacteria and viruses. After a nuclear-scaled bio-waste catastrophe, biohybrid robots immune to radiation are humanity's best chance at survival. They scavenge resources, rescue survivors, and clean up biohazard waste. The first biorobot becomes a restorer of extinct animals, carrying DNA and birthing lost species. These are the neo-humans, real-life X-Men. People, mostly biohackers, who are no longer considered human. They represent an entirely new species. After winning a bio-lottery, this is the first person to become a human insect repellent. He inhaled an engineered virus that delivered the CRISPR components and targeted gene sequences into his skin cells and sweat glands, where pheromones are now produced that repel local disease-carrying insects. A singer has her vocal cords and resonating chambers bioengineered to produce an unhuman range of sounds, turning her into a living musical instrument. A biohacker becomes a living canvas, using biofabricated skin pigments that change in response to light, temperature, and mood, displaying moving images and art. People are able to grow food on their own bodies. And marine biohackers are hacking their own bodies with genes from marine animals, creating bioluminescence and gill-like enhancements to breathe underwater. There is a new age Wolverine who is resistant to bone fractures thanks to bioengineered collagen enhancements, and he is capable of rapid regeneration with human tissues that are engineered from reptiles and heal at an accelerated rate. People are bioengineering themselves to age backwards by manipulating telomeres and cell regeneration. A person claims to have the ability of splitting their consciousness by using organic brain augmentations to perform multitasking on an unprecedented level. And the first person is capable of healing others through touch by transferring regenerative cells. Biotechnology is the drafting table where nature's blueprint meets human design.
It is the recoding of life itself.
This is the next phase in humanity's evolution.
So that is frightening, right? I mean, you even saw the purple streetlights, the 3D printing food, which is another video that I'll upload. For those of you that don't know 3D printing food, this is all related to a substance called graphene. Now, you might be like, what is that? Well, it's the coolest new technology, right? And that's what they're really referring to in there as far as the mixing of artificial intelligence and synthetic biology. And they even tell you in this article that they've already begun it. Yeah, they have already begun it. A while ago, they began it. And you might say, well, what is this stuff? And I'm going to show you now, of course, in a compilation of clips. But you've probably seen many of these already and not even realized it because it's been getting shown to us over and over and over again. And it's been known as black goo for the most part. You've seen black goo and Spider-Man, You've seen them talk about it, reference it, from Lady Gaga laying in it to celebrities wearing it to doing all sorts of weird videos where they're laying in black goo. That's them telling you about the merging of human beings with this graphene. Take a look.
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
I work in the team of Case Decker, and I work on designing graphene nanopores to sequence DNA at a single molecule level. So the idea of DNA sequencing is to read the content of your genome. And what you want is a recorder that can read the sequence of your DNA, but for that you need a recorder that is not bigger than the size of a single base. So we are using graphene because graphene is only 1 atom thin. So we are really doing high technology with very simple methods. So we take a piece of graphite here, we put the graphite onto the scotch tape, we extrude it once, we take a silicon wafer here in which that we bring into contact with the graphene, we press hard, we end up with a piece of wafer that somewhere has a graphene layer. And then we'll bring that chip to a transmission electron microscope to burn a nanopore into it. So then we take this chip, we flow on both sides a buffer, and on one side we inject the DNA molecule, and that's what we can record. There are still a few challenges to overcome, but all the technology I mentioned is in the size of this little chip here that could be used by a physician in his office to sequence the DNA of one of his patients in only a few minutes rather than a few days.
So you actually do.
We think of copper as being a very electrically conductive material, but graphene conducts electricity even better than copper. The reason that graphene conducts electricity so well is that the electrons can move fantastically fast. This gives graphene limitless applications, including conductive paints and inks, faster next-generation electronics, high-frequency devices, and more efficient batteries.
We were working on experiments that we hadn't even thought of 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Graphene throws up all sorts of new challenges for completely new types of science to do. It's hard to think of another type of material in which you would have those sort of challenges thrown up on a weekly, almost daily basis. That's what's really exciting about graphene. Graphene was first isolated and many of its properties were first identified by scientists working in the physics department at Manchester from 2004 onwards. What's happened over the last decade is that there's been a big expansion of graphene work into my own department, which is chemistry, into material science, into the life sciences, and into engineering. Really, I think the advantage we have in Manchester is that we have a lot of fundamental expertise from the physics department in graphene, but we've got a kind of seamless transition of graphene from its very fundamental properties to the applications which are being explored. It even be effectively sewed into somebody's skin. You can imagine that's science fiction. Because we're relying more and more on renewable energy from wind, from the tide, from the sun, then we need ways of storing that energy. And how do you store that energy? Well, essentially, giant banks of batteries and supercapacitors are feasible ways of storing that energy, but we need to improve the technology, and graphene can really make a difference there. Effectively sewed into somebody's skin. You can imagine that's science fiction, but I can't see why that wouldn't happen in the future.
Hexagonal lattice of carbon atoms called graphene. It's single atom thick, but stronger than steel. It conducts electricity and heat efficiently and has been slowly realizing its potential as a game changer. Kostya Novoselov, who won the Nobel Prize for his work on graphene, says one great application is in communications, because graphene is completely transparent and can transmit information via optical circuits incredibly quickly and efficiently.
It just allows you to push the signal processing into the optical domains, and honestly, I don't think any other material apart from graphene can do the same, can change its optical state at the same pace. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting and at the same time realistic applications.
Lightweight graphene can be easily incorporated into everything from shoes to clothing to cars, and that will make them strong, flexible, and smart. And its ability to move information quickly is going to be part of what makes the super-fast 5G networks that are coming soon possible.
We started to see it first in composite material applications, in sport goods. Now it goes into advanced cars, but now we already start to see it being used for electronics, for printed electronics, and I think it just develops with a very good pace for a new material.
Graphene is also making more efficient solar panels possible, and it's making smart electronics smarter and faster. But graphene might even soon be making people better.
I think we will see more interesting applications, like applications in biotechnology, maybe in membrane technology. So those are quite exciting, but they need a little bit more time to mature.
Novoselov says graphene circuits are so sensitive, an atom-thin probe can read and map brain activity and send that information to doctors or a phone in case of medical emergency.
This transparent strip is made of one of the strongest materials on Earth. And now, we're going to inject this into your body. Could it make your cells regenerate faster? Would this mineral ever leave your system? This is What If, and here's what would happen. Humans have been using graphite to draw since the Stone Age, and now we mine it to keep our batteries charged and machines lubed. But graphene, well, that's something new. This material, first seen in 2004, is only 1 atom thick. Found after peeling off transparent tape from graphite, the mineral stuck to the tape was named graphene. And it might be the first two-dimensional substance ever discovered. But don't be fooled by its size. Graphene is 100 times stronger than steel and powerful enough to repel most gases and liquids. Discovering it has revolutionized battery and information technology, but if graphene atoms enter your bloodstream, what would happen to your cells? You can create graphene oxide by oxidizing graphite. And this nanoparticle, graphene oxide, can be used in medical treatments since it breaks down in water fast. Drugs injected into your system could be delivered to their destinations faster thanks to this cheap and readily available substance. Studies in lab rats have shown that graphene caused tumors to shrink. Other tests showed that graphene might even make your bones regenerate quicker. But all this comes at a cost. We'll come back to that. If that much graphene oxide entered your bloodstream, the consequences might be dire. Remember, our knowledge of graphene is limited. So, what do we know? Well, studies in mice show that graphene can build up inside the lungs. Graphene sheets only nanometers thick would grow and collect, causing fluids to build up inside your lungs. You could drown on the inside without even touching a drop of water. But what would graphene do to your brain? Well, if you were injected with graphene, a small amount could cross the dreaded blood-brain barrier. This roadblock in your nervous system stops bacteria and viruses from getting into your brain. Now, if graphene enters your brain, most of the mineral would dissolve over the next 2 days, but you're not in the clear yet. The jagged graphene nanoparticles could pierce your blood cells and completely disrupt their function. And if it damages your kidney cells, proteins could leak into your urine. This would make your eyes and ankles swell. This condition, known as nephrotic syndrome, would also kill your appetite. Well, you might have lost that already. While graphene has quickly revolutionized the tech and medical industries, we still don't know what this mineral can do to us in the long run. Is it a miracle of nature, or is it a killer in disguise?
We chase them.
Sent word to Gady Prime to begin selling us spice reserves. You have no idea how much it cost me to bring such a force to bear here. Now I only have one requirement. Kill them all.
Let's put some ferrofluid on the plate. Ferrofluid is made of nanoparticles of iron, and when you apply a magnetic field to them, they follow the magnetic field lines in this spiky pattern here. The stronger the magnetic field is, the closer together the spikes form. So first let me show you what happens when I move a regular magnet near the ferrofluid. You can see it just sucks it up to the magnet. Okay, now let's bring the superconductor up to it. Okay, watch it push the spikes out of the way as I bring it close. That's because it's opposing the magnetic field at first. Now if I were able to get it closer, then it would lock in place and it wouldn't push the spikes out of the way. But if I push it any closer, it's going to go into the ferrofluid. Another cool thing I observed is that when you bring it near the ferrofluid, the spikes actually start to flow towards it. Now this seemed odd to me because there wasn't a reason magnetically why it should do that. So I tested it with just plastic that was cold, not a superconductor, and it did the same thing.
Bring it over to the point of the bolt and just gently drop it on there.
Okay.
In fact, you don't even have to touch it. It'll get pulled right over because of the magnetic field.
Look at it building up. Whoa! That is so cool. It's turning, I don't even know how to describe it. It almost looks like if I touched it, it'd be spiky.
Watch this. Okay, wow. The magnet is actually drawing those particles. Keep loading it up. We're going to see how much fluid we can get on here. If you notice, you look really close, you can see they're like little spikes.
Yeah, that's what it almost looks like. If I were to touch it, it would be spiky. Clearly, I know that's not the case.
It's actually soft. It's still a liquid, but because of the magnetic field, it's actually taking on a different shape. Those little particles are actually little magnets, but they've been coated with a surfactant, so they won't stick to themselves. But in the presence of a very strong magnet, they'll begin to take on these interesting shapes.
Oh, look, it's starting to get spiky even on the threading of the bolt.
Yeah.
That is super neat.
So it's fighting against gravity. The gravity is pulling it down. The magnet's pulling it down. Surface tension is trying to create these interesting shapes.
Sure.
But so it looks cool, right?
Yeah,
it's
looks
really
very
interesting,
cool.
very cool. What would you use it for? Is the real question. And so if you have a hard drive with a spinning axis that you want to seal, you can use ferrofluid. You put 2 magnets around the axle, and the ferrofluid will form a seal around the axle. Or if you want to separate things that are non-magnetic, this is a copper penny.
Sure, but we know that it's only partially, not fully copper, right?
You're right.
Okay.
It's zinc inside and a little copper on the outside, but in either case, it's not magnetic.
Okay, right.
It won't
Yeah, we
stick
know
to
that.
anything.
It's not going to stick to the fridge or anything like
How
that.
would I separate that out? We can use ferrofluid. So watch this. Load up my little cup with some ferrofluid. Just use the whole container. Just
like
you
that.
can
Just
pour
dump it in?
Yeah, just dump it in. It's okay. And if we...
That good?
Yeah, that's perfect. If we take the magnet and drop it inside, no great surprise, it's simply going to sink to the bottom.
Sure.
Now, here's where things might get a little bit messy. Watch out.
Woo!
Okay. If I take this super strong magnet and pull it away and put it underneath,
whoa!
The penny will float to the top.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately. And if I take it away from the magnet, the penny sinks.
Wow.
If I bring it down to the ferrofluid,
And
penny
so
floats
that's
to
just
the
the
top.
force?
The ferrofluid is actually, and I can have you feel it. I'm going to put this magnet back under the plate, and I want you to reach in with your gloves and touch that clump of ferrofluid. What does it feel like? Describe
Oh,
that.
gel. It feels like a hard, gooey gel, and I can't grab it off here even though I want to.
The density of the material has changed in the presence of a magnetic field. And this is one way that recyclers can actually separate non-magnetic or non-ferrous metals from magnetic metals.
That is so neat. And yeah, you can't, I'm trying to even separate it and it won't work.
It feels like jello. It's really weird. But if we do take the magnet away, I'll try not to splash, it goes right back to a liquid.
Wow, that is really neat. So then this almost, in theory, can be reused as well. The actual...
It can, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
There's even some talk of using this sort of nanotechnology to target drugs. So if we attach a specific drug to the nanoparticles here, we could put it in an entire body and it would all be dilute. But if we target an organ with a strong magnetic field, we can actually cause all of the drugs to go to that one location.
So in theory, if you needed maybe a heart medicine that you didn't want going elsewhere,
In theory, yes.
there could be a magnet used so that we could...
You could target that stuff using the tiny nanoparticles, and then take the field away. It disperses throughout the body, and you're fine.
Can't commit to anything but a core leaders on vacation and invite them. Hills burn in California. Quiet and I'm coming home and I'm on my own. Let me let you go.
I'm afraid you won't survive.
Some cells inside me will fight and defend their integrity till the very end.
Luke, the computer, it's moving. venom. You did not find us. We found you. Think of yourself as my bride.
You gonna eat anybody else?
Most likely. Is why we are here. Cooperate, and you might just survive.
And don't make me have to give it back to academics. You had it when you thought you had me slipping at the telly. Even if he ain't sitting like this on his last shit. Oh, you better go back and live. Revenge is the best medicine. Increase the dose from least to most and then tell the great. What? Piss and moan, but I'm not gonna fall.
What are like some of the craziest villains that you guys have fought?
I fought an alien made out of black goo once.
So this is frightening, obviously, but this is already going on. This isn't like, oh, this is the future, what it holds, and you could just look at it and say, well, that's never going to happen. It's already going on. It's already begun. They've already gotten into the body. And I think you all understand what I'm saying. So lab-grown synthetic brain cells can already learn tasks. Now the same team that brought us 800,000 Pong-playing brain cells living in a dish have received $600,000 from Australia, 600,000 AUD, Australian currency, from Australia's National Intelligence and Security Discovery Research Grants Program to further push these lab-grown brain cells embedded onto silicone chips into the world of machine learning. So this is all about the mixing of human beings, the editing of people's DNA, as you heard in the earlier clip, okay? This is all about the destruction of human beings as we know. What is God's creation? Us, right? So what would the end game be for them? It would be to edit us, to edit God's creation, to edit human beings' DNA, their genetic codes. Every human being, I'm sure you all seen thousands of crime shows, or whether it's that or it's CSI or any type of movie for the most part. Everybody knows, or it's Ancestry.com, every human being has their own DNA, right? And we've heard this theme about getting people's DNA and wanting people's DNA, because once they have your DNA, they can manipulate and edit your DNA. Or once they get inside of you, they can do these things. But everyone has their own unique DNA strand, and that was created by God. He's made us all unique and different in that sense. They do not want that. They want one. That's part of the, I'll do another video on that. The whole one world agenda with one gender. All these things are all part of the same theme, which is oneness. If they can control the genetic code, it's a one race with the same genetic strand, one human, right? Nobody's unique. Nobody's an individual, destroying what God created. That's what it's about. And that's exactly what you're seeing going on right now, right in front of our faces, the merging of man and technology. So this is what they're telling you. They're talking about synthetic biological intelligence. And that's what they mean when you hear it. And people just go, that sounds kind of weird. Oh, what are they doing in a laboratory? I understand how people think and their perception of these things. It doesn't interest me if I hear this and I don't know what's going on. They're like, oh, some guy's in a lab and he's mixing this and that. And you automatically think, if you're asleep, you automatically think, well, what they're doing is really, trustworthy, or, oh, it's something to help benefit humanity. It's something to control and destroy humanity. That's how these people get these grants from the government. That's what they've been working on since Operation Paperclip, since before then, for a long time, but in America. And now we're dealing with the repercussions of it, and we're watching it happen all around us. So share this video, get the word out again. If you want to become a patron, that'd be great. But at the very least, please become a subscriber to my other channels now if you haven't already. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you, as always, and your families.